Session 74. Let's talk here about the archetypical mind and the disciplines of the personality. Let's begin. So we're coming into sort of new material when we talk about the archetypical mind and the disciplines of the personality, which I have spoken about before. They have mentioned it. And I'm going to try to get as far as possible, definitely going to get into the disciplines of the personality because it kind of all builds there or builds up to there, this first half of the session that I have prepared. So the archetypical mind question is a little bit long, so we're going to try to get into that as much as possible. Again, just a reminder that we're getting into book 4 soon, which means a lot of archetypical mind discussion. Not as much as we would want to get enough information out of Ra about the archetypical mind, but just to let you know that the study of the archetypical mind, or the tarot, that was their method of their preferred method of study in LNL research. So Don decided to go with that, but there are others. So we'll talk about that extensively. And when I mean extensively, it's just that it's going to be extended throughout the whole book 4. And they didn't finish, of course, because the Raw contact finished. In any case, that's enough introduction. Like I said, we're going to talk about archetypical mind. But first, I omitted the first question, which is, can you give me an indication of the instrument? Ra said it is previously as stated. A funny remark is that they have been saying this for like 7 sessions already. I think since session 67. 67. And so it's funny that they always say, well, they are as previously stated and previously stated and previously stated. What's the whole panorama? Well, Carla's physical energies were kind of depleted most of the time. Sometimes they would see an improvement, and vital energies varied because of transfer energy and other factors that would bring it down or up. So that's the whole story out of the condition of the instrument. So I omitted that. We're going to go straight into the first question that I have, which is question 2, where Don says, before I get to new material, last session there seems to have been a small error that I corrected, then having to do with the statement, no working comes from it, but only through it. Was this an error in transmission, or what caused this problem? So I talked about this last session. Ross says, this instrument, while fully open to our narrowband contact, at times experiences a sudden strengthening of the distortion, which you call pain. This weakens the contact momentarily. This type of increased distortion has been occurring in this instrument's bodily complex with more frequency in the time period which you may call or term the previous fortnight. Although it is not normally a phenomenon which causes difficulties in transmission, it did so twice in the previous working. Both times it was necessary to correct or rectify the contacts. So I won't get into the details, but you can go check it in session 73. But I guess the important part is... So they said, this is something actually beautiful. This is a part where I'm glad that they made the error so we can repeat this. I'm going to read it straight from Don's lips. No working comes from it, but only through it. That is the balanced individual, the balanced self. Yes, when they were talking about healing, and the balanced self acknowledges that things not come from it, but only through it as an instrument, because you're an instrument of the one infinite creator, or what you perceive to be. You see, it's kind of difficult to talk about this because you think you are something and you know you're something else, but you're not quite sure what it is. So there is a whole problem of identity here. It's the dilemma, and at the same time the enjoyment of the teacher-student. Try to get to those points where I know I am confused, but I cannot solve it. So it's all about identity here. How much do we focus our attention to I am a person, as opposed to I am this that is happening and I can't put a name to it? That's basically the essence of knowing that nothing comes from you, because you actually don't exist. The idea that you exist is just that, it's an idea, it's a conception. But you simply are. And that being is just, well, this is coming through me, through what I call me, through the self. And I can't put a name on it. So I can describe it and I can talk about it, but to ascribe a name to it and to give it an identity separate from what this is doesn't happen. You know, let me put it this way. We called river, sea, ocean, clouds, rain, and so on water. Water simply is, and yet we call it names. It's for convenience. Water is water. And if you can see this, you're awakened. So, the problem was that Carla, I'll just explain that briefly, even though Don is going to ask further, but alright, so more to the question, Don is just asking, why this happened. And Ra explains that this is because of pain. Let me just put it that way because we're going to cover it in the next question. And they just say that for the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks, a fortnight is 2 weeks. For the past couple of weeks, she has been experiencing more of this pain, which is just the debilitation or weakness of her body, as we already know. We don't need to emphasize that too much. Question 3. Don says, could you please describe the trance state, as I am somewhat confused with respect to how, when in trance, pain can affect the instrument, since I was of the opinion that there would be no feeling of pain of the bodily complex in the trance state. So Ra says, this is correct. The instrument has no awareness of this or other sensations. However, we of Ra use the yellow ray activated physical complex as a channel through which to speak. As the mind-body-spirit complex of the instrument leaves this physical shell in our keeping, it is finally adjusted to our contact. However, the distortion which you call pain, when sufficiently severe, mitigates against proper contact, and when the increased distortion is violent, can cause the tuning of the channel to waver. This tuning must then be corrected, which we may do as the instrument offers us this opportunity freely. Okay. So, the question goes more to Carla. Does Carla feel pain? What we call Carla, that full mind-body-spirit complex that wasn't present during the trance. What was present was the body, and the body was being used by that which we call Ra. Now, here's where I want to make an emphasis, because I have to confess, in my mind, I always have mostly the possible misinterpretations of what I'm saying. So you may see that I'm always trying to correct that which I have not said, but I know could be said about what I just said, if that makes any sense. So when I say that Ra was in Carla, I don't refer to a separate entity apart from Carla. I'm also not saying that Carla was Ra. I'm saying that there is no separation. See, there is the idea that there are entities which affect us. But who is me? You see? If we're going to talk about me, myself, we need to define who I am. And who I am is this. See, I am nature. Let me put it this way. I am nature. I am no different than nature. In fact, all of nature needs to exist in order for me to be alive. Right? So I am nature. I may be a portion of it, but I am nature. I am an aspect of nature. If you can extrapolate this to the whole cosmic shenanigans, you can see that that's what you are. You are the whole universe. And so when we say that there are things that are affecting me, it's like saying, for example, I am nature, and thus the sun affects me. Well, the sun is part of nature. Nature couldn't exist without the sun. See? So Ra is an inevitable part of Carla. And so it is of you and me and everybody else. We're all connected into this. It's only how we're interested in certain things. So we may say, well, Ra hasn't affected everybody else. It's only affected the people who are interested. Well, of course. Because the people who are interested in those aspects of themselves, then they will find it. See? So, again, this is just to kind of normalize the idea that there are entities and I can tap into them in all of this. You're tapping into aspects of yourself. And how do you perceive them? Well, that's your own perception. That is your own, shall I say, touch. It's your own expression of it. So, what is Ra doing? Ra is that principle that can and was able to talk through Carla because of the harmony of all of them. And that was the information that we're getting. Ra is simply, or Ra is manifested in information that we can read through the material, right? That's all we know about Ra. Nothing else. There are way more than that, right? Just like everything else. But that is the reality of the entity that we call Ra. So it's us. It's everybody. It's just an aspect. It's just like Jesus is not an entity. Although Jesus as an entity, as an individual was seen here, and we can say, ho, we saw the separation, manifestation of that which Jesus represented, the logos, the all-encompassing love. So, yes, it's an entity, but more than anything, it's what they represent. Jesus represents that unconditional love, right? Okay, so to the point is that when Carla, or the instrument where Carla, as being an aspect of the creator, Carla was an aspect of the creator as well, right? Just like Ra and you and everybody else. So that aspect, when the instrument that she was using, when Ra was using it, it also experienced pain. Period. That's it. It's a physical manifestation. It's a shell of intelligent energy that is moving harmoniously. And that harmony sometimes was disrupted by specific conditions in the instrument or in the patterns of intelligent energy, if you follow me. So that's all that happened. And of course, that caused a detuning. Because once again, as you can see, this information is, I would say, is just very deep in terms of what it represents, and the fact that they were using a language which is less than complete, or even that is an overstatement of what it is, made it even more difficult to communicate concepts that are very difficult. So you can see why small things can actually disrupt the meaning of what they were saying and make mistakes. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. Question 4, Don says, in a previous session, there was a question on the archetypical mind that was not fully answered. I would like to continue with the answer to that question. Could you please continue with that? Or would it be necessary for me to read the entire question over again? Okay, so I'm not going to go back to session 73 to read this question. I'm just going to go with what Ross says here. This is, I think this was the last question, right? So it had to do with the archetypical mind. Ross says, as a general practice, it is well to vibrate the query at the same spacetime as the answer is desired. However, in this case, it is acceptable to us that a note be inserted at this point in your recording of these sound vibratory complexes referring to the location of the query in previous query. You know what? All right, Ra, you win. I'll read the question. Can I? Yes or not? I don't think I have it. Oh, it's 73. Or was it 72? I'm confused now. Let's see. Bear with me. You know what? I am sorry. This should be... Oh, no. This is talking about session 67, actually. Huh. All right. So, there we go. Let me not leave you reading that for so long. All right. Fair enough. So, this is... right? Am I right in this? They say this is found in 67.28. Oh, no. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm sorry. This is actually... Question 28 of session 67 is very long, and it has to do with the mission. You know what? I'll leave a link here for you to go check. Again, it's a good reminder that if you're on YouTube listening to this, go with the timestamps, and you can go to question 28. I will leave it here again. I don't think I made a short out of this one, or a fragment, an extract. So it's a very long question. I'm not going to read it. It has a lot to do with the archetypical mind and how Don described it originally. So, sorry for that delay. Where was I? We're going to read what Ross said about the archetypical mind. So let's just go with a fresh mind about the archetypical mind, shall we? So, Ross says, the query, though thoughtful, is in some degree falling short of the realization of the nature of the archetypical mind. We may not teach or learn for any other to the extent that we become learned teachers. Therefore, we shall make some general notations upon this interesting subject and allow the questionnaire to consider and further refine any queries. So first of all, they're saying, because Don talked about the father and the mother and something else, I forget. Can I go back to that? I'm sure I can. There it is. So yeah, Don talked about different archetypical saint, healer, adept, and so on. So I guess these can be called archetypes as well. But in the tarot, as they got into, it was a different way of describing it. And the father doesn't seem to be much of an archetype in the way that they structure it for the tarot. So, you know, the father can be probably seen, you know, as a male figure in so many cards and so on, but this is a good point to tell you that the archetypical mind is not my preferred method of study, or the tarot, to be more specific. And I do have a different view on all of this. Not a view like I disagree, but it just never attracted me. I remember getting into the Law of One. I mean, some people, my friend Annabella, she is fascinated with book 4. Some people actually get this and they make wonders out of it. They talked about this. This is their primary field of study. This is not my primary field of study, so I can only talk about it. Sorry to disappoint you. I don't have much to teach you in the way of the Tarot, but I can comment on it, and I can talk about it. My preferred method of learning and teaching is non-duality, if you will. Is the the direct path that I use. That's basically what I love, and that is the disciplines of the personality, which we will get here. So again, the Tarot it's a kind of halfway study in the raw material because we didn't finish it, and so we only have small things. They're very helpful, of course, but I would also say here as a sort of introduction and disclaimer that I don't think this leads too much. I mean, it's a nice field of study, and it definitely can help. I just don't feel that is getting too much into the details of how it works and interactions and all of this. As Ra said, the archetypical mind is just the blueprint of how things. It helps you understand yourself. It helps you understand experience, the mind, but it doesn't. It's not a way for things to be. To conceptualize things, and this is why they always say just interpret what you want, because that was the idea. They do represent certain things, but you have to interpret them. We cannot teach them. We cannot learn from you, or for you. Like they said, we may not learn for any other to the extent that we become their teachers. We cannot learn for you. So, they're going to make some general notations, and we'll talk about that. And from there, that's where the dialogue starts between Dun and Ra about the archetypical mind. So, what do they say? They say the archetypical mind may be defined as that mind which is peculiar to the logos of this planetary sphere. Thusly, unlike the great cosmic all-mind, it contains the material which it pleased the logos to offer as refinements to the great cosmic beingness. The archetypical mind, then, is that which contains all facets which may affect mind or experience. So, how far do I want to go with this? I guess as far as I can. So there is the Grand Central Sun, or the original logos. That is the original mind of the Creator. The mind of the Creator said, I will experience myself. And I have laid out this way of understanding myself. I'll give you an example of what was contained in the imagination of the logos when this octave started. To not sound so esoteric, imagine that God, as a child, decided to have an imagination. And for this imagination, this particular imagination, it created certain things. For example, male and female polarity, right? That didn't exist, I believe, or maybe it was the gender, male and female gender. That didn't exist. I forget. But that was, let's go with that. That didn't exist before in its previous imagination. So that was what Ra calls the harvest from the previous octave, which again was just an experience. And so this child that we know as God is not that almighty, powerful, bearded wise man in the clouds. It's a child and it has no idea what it wants. It only knows that it's going to experience itself, and it says, "Yuppie, let me explore myself." But we Westerners have complicated it so much, into a mechanic way of and authority and all these things. But in the end, it's just, unknown. The unknown that the child is in awe with. You see? But it's not surprising that in the West, where we created this almighty being, or this mechanical built universe created out of pieces and parts, we look at children as being incomplete, as being rather embarrassing. This, they're uncomfortable to be around with. They remind us of what we are. You see, so, and remind us of God. So we're very unease in the face of God. God is always judging us. You see, so I hope you're following my sarcasm here. So yeah, that's the logos. That's the grand central sun. It said, I'm going to experience myself this way. But in its intelligent appraisal of itself, it created different nexus or nexi, which are the galaxies. And the galaxy says, all right, it's me again, but now I have imagined myself to be this way, as this galaxy, right? That is the first refinement of the archetypical mind, the original archetypical mind. And so it gets refined into a galaxy. And then the galaxy says, well, I'm going to make more of me and create little suns. And these suns are going to have their own free will because it's me. I have free will. I am free will. And so all the stars, they become fragments of the galaxy. And so they have free will, and they further refine the archetypical mind, creating the experience of the solar system in our case, right? But the solar system says the same thing. I'm going to create more of me. And that is you, that is me, that is everybody else around us. We are sub-logoi. So what's the point? That we are, in a way, our own archetypical mind. We are creating that. So you see how it works? Because I am the creator. I am that grand central sun, only holographically broken down, right? So, what happens? We're discussing the archetypical mind as created or refined by the sun, our star, right? I was going to say, trying to translate it into English, we call it El Astro Rey, the king, because it's our king. It's right here. It's king not as it's imposing things on us, but as we adore it. We love the sun because we're that. That's why we salute them, or salute him every morning, or it. Forget about gender. Gender didn't exist. A lot of people would be glad to live in the previous octave. No gender there. I love it. I just love it. All right. So, unlike the great cosmic all-mind, it contains material which it pleased the logos to offer as refinements to the great cosmic beingness. Yes. The great cosmic all-mind is the one that I said. The great one. The original logos. You see? So the archetypical mind may be defined as that mind which is peculiar to the logos of this planetary sphere, of the sun. The sun said, let me experience myself this way in this planet. And it does so, giving free will to itself, which is you, which is me. And that's what we're all, we're all caught up in our differences because we're supposed to be different. You see, so we're stuck there. However, thanks to the difference in us is that we, or the sun, can experience itself. You see, it needs to have free will, and everybody needs to be different. I was recently told that, no, let me not get into that. We need to be different. We need to have our own differences, please. These are called refinements in the logos, and we need to allow that to happen. We cannot control other people. We cannot tell them what to do. And more to the point, we cannot think that they are doing something wrong. It's only our perception, our own bias that says, oh, they're doing something wrong. And that's because you become unease. You become afraid of what may happen if they continue to do this. Trust the universe. All right, so the archetypical mind then is that which contains all facets, which may affect mind or experience. I would add that which will affect mind or experience in this logos. I mean, they refer to, obviously, every archetypical mind, I suppose, contains all those. It's the arrangement in which the logos said, oh, I'm going to experience myself this way. And we have talked about these little things in the past, like, for example, the opposable thumb is something that the logos designed here. Believe it or not, there doesn't seem to be opposable thumbs in other parts of the universe. Maybe some others have included it in their own arrangement. What else do we have? We have a... Ra says this in the future, in the next sessions. They say that the Logos has a sensitivity for kindness. So it is part of the archetypical mind. We all have this. We all have opposable thumbs, don't we? We all have a sensitivity for kindness. We can feel this. And other things. I won't go into details because either we have talked about it or they will come in the next sessions. So let me keep reading. Ra continues, says, the magician was named as a significant archetype. However, it was not recognized that this portion of the archetypical mind represents not a portion of the deep subconscious, but the conscious mind and, more especially, the will. The archetype called by some the high priestess, then is the corresponding intuitive or subconscious faculty. Well, the magician was, and I think the high priestess, I don't know if they were mentioned in question 28, session 67. Again, go check it out. I left it here. I'm pretty sure, unless I forgot. If not, what are you waiting for? Session 67. Question 28. It's right there on my channel. You can go check it out. Yeah, it's a long answer, a question from Don, and that's why at the end Ra said, let's leave this for another session. But he mentioned at least the magician, I believe. Well, Ra says it here. The magician was named as a significant archetype, but it wasn't recognized as a portion of the archetypical mind that represents not the subconscious. You see, the magician in the Tarot represents that which is... I have a little qualm with Confederation language because of the word consciousness. And in my own teachings, consciousness means something else. But they talk about the portions of consciousness, which I call the mind. To me, it's just the mind. And then, of course, the mind is conscious. So it's a little semantics here, but bear with me, please, because it's a little convoluted when we talk about consciousness and awareness and mind and all of this, when it's just one big thing. We need to segment it. I guess every teacher has their own way of segmenting its own teachings. So the magician represents that which we called, or I would call, what's it called? I think about it in Spanish. The waking state? Is that what it is? The waking state, right? So yes, this is what we call the magician. The magician is this part of the archetypical mind which is perceiving. You see, you're here. You are here. That is the magician. This is the conscious mind. You are conscious. See? See, the conscious mind. Yes, it's not consciousness. It's the conscious mind. All right, so me and Ra understand each other. So it doesn't represent the deep subconscious. Again, subconscious mind, not consciousness. Consciousness is everything. That's what I have sometimes of a little discrepancy with the words that are used. But yeah, so as far as we can talk about subconscious mind and conscious mind, we have described the two first archetypes, the matrix and potentiator of the mind. Matrix is the magician. Potentiator is the high priestess, or the subconscious, actually the unconscious. But subconscious is part of the unconscious, right? At least as they explain it here. Trust me, you're gonna find all kinds of, like Carl Jung, C.G. Jung had a different way to describe all of this, even though he was talking about the same thing. And everybody will talk about it differently. So again, it's just a matter of interpretation. So that is what the conscious mind represents, is the magician. More especially the will, because the will is, well, think about it. Your conscious attention is always directed by will. Where do you focus? That is your will. And your mind, of course, your whole mind is getting dumped into whatever you are attending or focusing, right? All your mind is being invested there. So depending on your will, this is why they call the will such an important part of the spiritual path, because you need to direct your will where it wants to, and well, it's a whole discussion, but I won't get into that. Yeah, the use of the will. So the archetype called by some the high priestess then is the corresponding intuitive or subconscious faculty. Now it's important for you and me to understand each other that if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of the tarot and what it represents and all of this, it's a nice study of what I'm talking about. For example, the conscious mind. You can go there and check and the polarity and what it sees and all of this and da. That is your own study. I cannot do that study for you, primarily because I'm not interested. But that's full honesty. Second, because I can't. Nobody can. Only you can explore what the conscious mind actually means. And this you can do with every other archetype. However, I can point to you what it refers to. So we have just talked about the first two archetypes, conscious and subconscious mind. This is the archetypical mind, my friends. Ra continues and says, let us observe the entity as it is in relationship to the archetypical mind. You may consider the possibilities of utilizing the correspondences between the mind-body-spirit in microcosm and the archetypical mind-body-spirit closely approaching the creator. Okay. For instance, in your ritual performed to purify this place you use the term lugogabo. It is a correct assumption that this is a portion or aspect of the one infinite creator. However, there are various correspondences with the archetypical mind which may be more and more refined by the adept. Lugogabo is the correspondence of Michael, of Mars, of the positive, of maleness. Lugedula has correspondences to Jupiter, to femaleness, to the negative, to that portion of the tree of life concerned with Oriel, or I'm tempted to say Auriel. So this has as an example. First of all, they're going into, let us observe the entity as it is in relationship to the archetypical mind. So you with your archetypical mind, consider the possibilities of utilizing the correspondences between the mind-body-spirit in microcosm, that is you, and the archetypical mind-body-spirit closely approaching the creator, which is all that there is, right? And so they go into, first of all, apologies for those who know how to pronounce lugogabo and lugedula. I use the resources of my Spanish pronunciation mixed with English and Spanish, so apologies if that's not how it's pronounced. So I don't know what they mean. I know people who study the Kabbalah. I think this is Kabbalah, right? Tree of Life, yes. So they may know more. I'm not familiar with it. And again, this is content that because I'm not familiar with it, it's not interesting to me, and I can't really make many correspondences like they say. I mean, they say lugogabo is correspondence with Michael and Mars, or the positive, maleness. Jupiter is negative, doesn't mean that it's evil, it's just negative polarity, absorbing, magnetic, attractive, to that portion of the tree of life concerned with Oriel. So this is where people who have Kabbalah, my friend Brian, you're listening to this, my friend, this is all for you. Yeah, not for me, definitely. So, what else did they say? We could go forward with more and more refinements of these two entries into the archetypical mind. We could discuss color correspondences, relationships with other archetypes, and so forth. This is the work of the adept, not the teach-learner. Again, see, this is what you find important. You see, we discussed male and female. The magician is male, and the priestess, the high priestess, is female. So these correspondences, however you see it, you can go and study it. It doesn't have to be the Tarot, it doesn't have to be astrology, it doesn't have to be Kabbalah, it doesn't have to be whatever else. It's all about just understanding the mind somehow. See? C.G. Jung did it its own way, and I think it was fantastic. So he studied the archetypical mind. No study is better than the other. Sounds stupid to say that, but it seems like we're still surrounded by that idea that there is a way to study it. So this is the work of the adept, not teach-learner. Finally, Ra says, we may only suggest that there are systems of study which may address themselves to the aspects of the archetypical mind, and it is well to choose one and study carefully. It is more nearly well if the adept go beyond whatever has been written and make such correspondences that the archetype can be called upon at will. I believe that is the best way, indeed, is that we create our own ways of studying the archetypical mind, because that's what we do. We improve, just like I just improved my video that looked awful. We improve upon that which has already been taught. You know, this is why Ra was so excited to talk to Don about the interpretations of the Tarot. And you can see it in the future as they say, oh, students, you have not seen this, and blah, blah, blah. They got so excited. So, yeah, we may only suggest that there are systems of study which may address themselves to the aspects of the archetypical mind, and it is well to choose one and study carefully. It's interesting. You see, it's there are definitely more. I tell you, the way that I approach this is the observing of the mind, and I don't want to go into that because that's my direct path. That's what I do. It's closely aligned with the disciplines of the personality and this archetypical mind. But let's keep going. Ra, or Don rather, says, I have a question here that I'm going to answer and let you correct. I see that the disciplines of the personality feed the indigo ray energy center and affect the power of the white magician by unblocking the lower energy centers and allowing for a free flow of the upward spiraling light to reach the indigo center. Is this correct? Ra says, no. Don says, would you please correct me? Ra says, the indigo center is indeed most important for the work of the adept. However, it cannot, no matter how crystallized, correct to any extent whatsoever imbalances or blockages in other energy centers. They must needs be cleared seriatim from red upwards. Seriatim meaning in sequence. So Don's mistake or ignorance of the mechanics, can I get away with that word, was to say that work on the indigo ray helps to clear the lower energy centers, right? What does he say? It affects the power of the white magician by unblocking the lower energy centers. This does not happen. You don't go to any energy center and to unblock the other. You have to work directly towards that. I mean, that just makes sense. You know, if no matter how much love I give consciously to my insecurity, my shyness, to, you know, people talk about, oh, you know, I'm very shy, I'm very timid. I'm an what do they call it? Introvert. I'm an introvert. And, you know, I think everybody's an intro and extrovert. It's just that we feel safe sometimes by saying, oh, the reason why I don't expose myself is because I'm so weak. You see, this is a blocked energy center. I am sorry. I know a lot of people are very shy and they shield themselves under this, but this is how I talk. This is how I express the reality of what it is. And there's no shame in admitting that you have some blockages. That's okay. We all have our blockages. We all have our tendencies. But one thing is to shield yourself with it, as opposed to simply admitting it. And that's it. Once you admit it, voila, no more blockage. You see, there's only a problem when you think there is a problem. So in any case, you don't give love to it because my heart energy center will heal all my lower energy centers. It doesn't work that way. You have to go and do the muddy work. You have to go there and really get into it. And see, why am I timid? Why am I so shy? Why do I love saying that I'm an introvert, and so on? Or whatever. Why do I feel superior? Why do I feel like I have the final word and people need to listen to me? I'm so affected when people don't listen to me because their opinions seem to be stronger than mine, and so on. You have to go there. You cannot say, I'm just going to love myself there and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work that way. And that is the incorrectness in Don when saying that, yes, you can do a lot of indigo ray. Let me give you an example of this. There is, because of the end times, the apocalypse that we're living right now, a lot of people are waking up. That means that they are feeling a call of their own nature. Their own nature is that they are God. They're the creator. We all are. And how do you deal with that? That's the key thing. And I'm sure the Logos is enjoying this part so much. You see, we think that we're all separate, and it's just, this is all one mind in which the Logos is saying, how am I going to get out of this? It knows that it will get out of this, but it sees all this conflict, all this differentiation in all of us. We are just thoughts of the one mind that is the Logos. So it's just having a ball here. It's enjoying this. Meanwhile, we're thinking it's very serious. It's very serious that we wake up. Very important. Everybody needs to wake up. We need to give the resources. Oh, Gabe, you're doing a magnificent job by waking up people. I'm not. I'm enjoying what I do. There's a reason why it's going to be 3 years since I opened the channel. And I continue to do this because I love it. I really do. There's no other reasons. There's no hidden agenda here. And I talk the way I talk. That's it. But anyhow, yeah, so this is creating, more to the point of the indigo ray, this is creating a lot. Oh my God, the sun. Speaking of the sun, you see, the sun is doing all of this. That's all right. I'll just leave it be. I try to give enough lighting to this so it doesn't look crampy, and the sun just likes to do whatever it wants. Go ahead, Logos. I'm talking about it, so it needs to manifest itself. See, it went away. Just now, behind a cloud. See how language even sounds weird? The sun went away. The sun is still there. It just got clouded. Anyhow, so, oh my God. I don't know if I'm going to get to the disciplines of the personality today. There's much to say. All right, so just give you an example, which is very current, is this indigo ray activation, which is, some people say, I had a Kundalini awakening, and I'm dealing with all of this, quite right, you did. And some people have a mystical experience, and they say, my God, I had an awakening, and all of this, right? All that is happening is that energy is flowing to the indigo ray, and some aspects of themselves are waking up, things that they have repressed in the past, consciously or subconsciously, or unconsciously, I'd rather say, which is okay. It might have been a programmed thing, but how to deal with that? How to deal with my newfound power of looking at things? Now, this has created, let me just say this has created a lot of, what's the word that I would like to use here? All right, I'll just use distortion. Sorry. A very distorted view of now, we need to worship all the people that have this powers and things, and they communicate with angels and all of this. Because what? There's nothing fantastic about that. it's absolutely normal for, let's say, for an awakened society. All of this is normal. There's nothing special about it. That's why I said it's nothing special about what I do or the neighbor does or anybody else. But yes, we have repressed this knowledge so much that anybody who has an indigo ray, and they don't know what to do with it. They hear voices, they talk to them, and they have their blockages and so on. So the indigo ray does not liberate you from your own sensation of self. In fact, I'm going to put it this way, and I know it's going to sound very strict, but it is what it is. There is a lot of people who are working through the indigo ray, believing still that they are a separate entity. How mad is that? I mean, it's awesome for the creator and the logos, but I know it's a very uncomfortable experience for the people who are having it. You know, it's just like, I don't know what to do with this. I feel so weird feeling a separate self and at the same time having to deal with all this oneness. So anyhow, this is something I could just keep going and on and on. But Ra says that the indigo center is indeed most important for the work of the adept. Who is the adept? He who has awakened to its true being. He who knows that there is no separate self. You've heard me say in the past that I don't teach anything complicated or complex, advanced. All I teach in the direct path is the simple awakening of the self, which is, who are you? Once you know that, everything just resolves itself, and the indigo center is worked upon, should I say, kindly, patiently, in love of the unity of all things. You see, that's what I enjoy. And mostly because I see that there is a lot of mumbo jumbo, or mumbo jumbo, not mumble, a lot of mumbling too, but there's a lot of mumbo jumbo out there about energy and your third eye activation and all of this, ignoring the first step, which in the pyramids was initiation. It wasn't even healing yet. It was initiation. Know who you are. Break away the shell of the personality of who you think you are. Then you are pretty safe to go and explore the world, because you no longer are a threat to yourself, which is the ego. So, yes. So it is important for the adept. However, it cannot, no matter how crystallized, no matter how much you do your third eye activation and crystallization and all of this work, and no matter how much correct to any extent whatsoever imbalances or blockages in other energy centers, they must needs be clear in sequence from the bottom up, essentially. Hope that makes sense. Let's move on. Don says, I'm not sure if I understand this. The question is, how do disciplines of the personality feed the indigo ray energy center and affect the power of the white magician? Does that question make sense? Ra says, yes, it does make sense. You gotta love Ra. Don says, would you answer it, please? I have a funny picture in my head whenever I read these answers. I'm sorry, I'm a child. What can I say? Ra says, as an answer to that, we would be happy to answer this query. We understood the previous query as being of other import. The indigo ray is the ray of the adept. A great deal of the answer you seek is in this sentence. Boom. There is an identification between the crystallization of that energy center and the improvement of the working of the mind-body-spirit as it begins to transcend space-time balancing to enter the combined realms of space-time and time-space. Well, I mean, let me just say this again, because this is just my interpretation. I'm sorry I cannot give a better interpretation, but this is what I see. First of all, Don didn't understand you see, because his follow-up question is, I don't think I understand this. My question was, how do disciplines of the personality feed the indigo ray energy center and affect the power of the white magician? But Don, I don't blame him. Don forgot that he said that, he says, feed the indigo energy center and affect the power of the white magician by unblocking the lower end. So he was saying that by working on the indigo ray, it affects the power of the white magician by unblocking. In other words, by working on my indigo ray, I unblock my lower energy centers, which feeds the white magician type of work, right? So he omitted that. Not that he did it consciously, but I guess he was interested in how his question wasn't well formulated, let's say. See, so Don is asking, no, tell me how the indigo ray affect the power of the white magician. He didn't mention now lower energy centers. See, that's why Ra says, we understood the previous query as being of other imports, the lower energy center paradigm, or the issue with that. And then Ra explains, now, how does the indigo ray affect the adept? Well, the indigo ray is the ray of the adept, period. A great deal of the answer you seek is in this sentence. So why don't we go into that sentence? The indigo ray is the ray of the adept. Okay. If the indigo ray is the ray of the adept, who is using it? I want to pause for a couple of seconds for you to ponder that. Who is the adept and who is the person? See? The adept has to be an initiated one. What is initiation? To learn that you are not what you think you are. You have no individual personality. You simply are, as Alan Watts would say, the works. And as the works, you cherish what's happening. You love what's happening. You're no longer chained by the illusion of separation. So that is the adept. And the indigo ray is the ray of the adept. So without initiation, work on the indigo ray will only cause, and may cause, as Ra has explained, more imbalances in the lower energy centers. Now, how does that happen without sounding so esoteric? Well, if you thought you were a person before, and now you work on the indigo ray, what's going to happen is that you're going to think that you're a person with powers. You see? And there's a lot humility in people that this furthers, because you see, awakening in the negative sense causes that, saying, ho, I am the universe. I am the person that is the universe. Everything else is just, it's my game and I need to control it. You see, but the vast majority of people are of a positive oriented direction. And they're going to find a further problem is that they will see how in dealing with this personality issue that is created now by the indigo ray activation without knowing who they are, they're going to find conflict and they're going to feel troubled inside. So first, you need to know who you are. I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter. Whatever else you want to study and go through it, that's fine. That's your own exploration. You want to become a scientist, a rock star, or a guru, or whatever it is. A teacher, a priest, whatever. I don't care. Go even to the army and go kill people. Whatever it is. I know the army just doesn't kill people. Well, that's the purpose of the army, is to defend the country. You know what I mean? So, no matter what you do, first know who you are. Then you can act with responsibility. Without knowing who you are, you have no clue what's happening. And I guess that's a way too of exploring the self, which I'm not telling you, I'm not commanding you to go know who you are. You are naturally interested in that. So just follow it. Let me put it that way. Follow your interest, your curiosity as to who you are. It's the only question that really matters, as Ramana Maharshi would say. Who are you? But, no, let me finish this. A great deal of answer what you seek is in this sentence. There is an identification between the crystallization of that energy center, the indigo ray, and the improvement of the working of the mind, body, spirits. See, the crystallization of that energy center by the adept, right? There is an improvement of the working of the mind, body, spirit as it begins to transcend space-time balancing, material, physical separation, and so on, to enter the combined realms of space-time and time-space. Well, that's a different story. See, now you're entering the combined realms of space-time and time-space is what I call in the direct path the collapse of duality. There is no separation. There's only this. Okay? There is no, wait a minute, I'm going to go to time-space because I'm going to channel something, or I'm going to have a vision, or I'm going to whatever it is, and then come back. No, everything is happening right now, here, right now, and it's all in my mind. You see? That is the collapse of duality. Very briefly. So, let's move on. I think I want to cover one more, maybe. Yes, because we still have. All right, let's just move it. Whatever. Question 9. Don says, let me see if I have a wrong opinion here of the effect of disciplines of the personality. I was assuming that a discipline of the personality to, shall we say, have a balanced attitude toward a single fellow entity would properly clear and balance to some extent the orange ray, the orange energy center. Is this correct? Ross says, we cannot say that you speak incorrectly, but merely, less than completely. The disciplined personality, when phased with another self, has all centers balanced according to its unique balance. Thusly, the other self looks in a mirror, seeing itself. This is beautiful, actually. I think I'm going to end it here. Yes, we'll finish. Paramount. Let me see what else we have. This. Yeah, we'll leave it at this because the next one is going to take me a while. All right. So, this is beautiful. So Don says, I was assuming that a discipline of the personality to have a balanced attitude towards a single fellow entity would properly clear and balance to some extent. Yes. I mean, that is full recognition. You see, what Don is saying here is that in some way, your view of the other self, to be truthful, must see as disciplines of personality have a balanced attitude toward a single fellow entity would properly clear. What is a balanced attitude toward a single fellow? See, how do we know? Is there a measure for that? Can we agree on something that we can say it's a balanced approach to other self? That's where I think Ross says that it's not incorrect, it's just that it's incomplete. Yes, it's incomplete. You check out the question. See, I want to emphasize this because there's a golden nugget here. Don says, I was assuming that a discipline of the personality to have a balanced attitude toward a single fellow entity would properly clear and balance the orange ray energy center. Okay, first of all, why the orange ray energy center? Because that's the one that is attributed the relationship one-on-one with people. So your comparison, right? You compare to others. You're doing it in your mind all the time, one by one. See, that's the orange ray. Who am I? It's the question right there. So, who am I in relation to another? Right? That's the orange ray. That's the incompleteness here, to me, is the balanced attitude towards a single fellow. Because what is a balanced attitude that we can agree on? To love it? Well, what about if you don't love him? You know, if you're repelled by it, You see, then you're like, I'm in a pickle here. I need to love him, because that's the balanced attitude. To look at it with wisdom, could that be? Well, let's put it to the test. What is wisdom then? Well, wisdom seems to be how you sort of conceptualize who they are. Would that be a balanced view? Would that be correct? Doesn't seem like it. Now, the balanced view, and I would I'll keep using that word, is unity. But what is unity? How can I do that? How can I do that? How can I see that in everybody? And I think we can all agree that if I can see myself, who I know I am, in the other person, everything is fine. Right? I don't think we can disagree on this. If I can see myself in everybody, then that would be a balanced view, because there is no imbalance. There is no, he's different than me, or she's different than me. See, so I think we can agree with that. As long as I see myself. Now I know, some people may be saying, well, I cannot see my personality, my persona cannot be, of course, you're very perceptive. You cannot do that. So you cannot use that. Hence, you need to stop identifying yourself with the personality. Otherwise, you will continue to be separate. Or your view is going to be separate. This is not on acknowledging the fact that you are a unique snowflake, as we all are. We all have a different configuration to our mind, and we express it in a specific way. No, it is not dismissing that. It is saying, I am not that. What I am is something more profound that I cannot explain. So you see, once again, I will talk about the direct path here because, one, it is the only way that I have found that is completely empirical is the word that I use. I want to use another word like infallible and so on. But the infallibility really depends on the curiosity of the person. Do you want to know who you are? And once you know who you are you willing to apply that to your daily life? You see, I cannot do that for you. You have to have that intent. And, you know, that's the beauty of teaching. You know, people will take it the way they want. But that is, to me, the most efficient way. Otherwise, we get lost in so many words and the vocabulary that goes on and on and on with this new agey thing. It's just incredible. So I can only talk by what worked for me after being involved in so much of this law of one, Buddhism and occultism and Christianity and the lost history of Atlantis and Lemuria, and oh my god, it goes on and on. More videos pop up every day talking about different things and activate your third eye and pineal gland and so on, because the Christos, that great call, that substance that goes down the spine and you have to harvest, and oh my god, it's just too much. So I mean, it's fine for everybody else that wants to explore it, not to me. I want to go straight into, that's me, I want to go straight into the answer. Just give me the answer and stop beating around the bushes. And this is why I love Zen, and I love, you know, non-duality in general, because they don't even go with archetypical mind. Non-duality is just, yeah, if you want to understand the mind, then you use that. But if you want to understand yourself, don't understand the mind. Don't use the mind. Bodhidharma said this, you know. If you try to use your mind to understand reality, you will understand neither. If you don't use your mind to understand reality, you will understand both. So don't use your mind, you see? Okay. So, I talk about the direct path because that is what I use, and that's what I teach. And the only way that I can see myself in other people is to realize who I am. I am that I am. I am consciousness. I am the creator. And so is everybody else. If I am able to see that, I have a balanced view. That's what Ross said here. The disciplined personality, when faced with another self, has all centers balanced according to its unique balance. I love that part. All centers balanced according to its unique balance. What are the centers balanced? When you have no issues, when you are living in plenty, you're just living in abundance, what we call abundance. Abundance is just simply this is it. I want to pause this second, every second, because everything is marvelous and beautiful. See, if you can live your life that way, it doesn't matter what your unique configuration is, like Ross says. Your unique balance, that's okay. Everybody has a different, this is why all teachers have had their own specific balances, and they all shine differently. See? And so by that, the other self looks in a mirror, seeing itself. Let me put this in two different ways. There is the Buddha, Gautama Siddhartha, who was seen, as a pure mirror for everybody, because everybody was on the same page. And they said, I want that, I want that peace. But I'm so lost in my yoga and my practices and my pranayama and so on, that how did you attain it? How did you attain Buddhahood? And that's why Gautama said, stop trying. Stop trying, because you're missing the point. You see, so they saw a mirror of themselves. Now let's look at Jesus. Jesus, who also attained Buddhahood or Christ consciousness, same thing. Well, what happened to him? He was seen as, undesirable, and he was beaten, and he was, crucified, and so on. And so, well, Jesus became what he became, but he was a reflection for everybody else. A few people saw it, his disciples and others, but the vast majority saw themselves in him and say, no. It's like I said earlier. We look at the child and we say, you're less than complete. Of course, you're looking at yourself there. You're saying, the child in me is incomplete, and I'm just gonna sit here in sorrow and punish you, just like I punish myself. That's how we treat children in this society. So in the same way, we treated Jesus. We said, nope, nobody is the Son of God, much less you. Or, if he had said that in India, they would have said, like, hooray, you became realized. You understood. Good for you. Give him a pat on the back and kept on going with their business. So that is that's just how we see. We look at it, at others and say, that is less than complete, because we ourselves are less than complete, and so we try to fix them. What we're really trying to fix is ourselves. We don't know it. Just like we're trying to fix children. How can we fix children? They are what they are. It's so ironic, this society. It's just weird. Anyhow, that's all I got for today. We're going to talk about the disciplines of the personality next time. I talked about my my method here, and that's going to be part of the conclusions. The most important part, let's see, we started talking about the archetypical mind. Beautiful. I think it's a study that we can go and understand somehow. It's understanding the mind. You see, the archetypical mind, and I'm just going to talk about the matrix, potentiator, catalyst, experience, significator. Let me see if I remember them all. What's the other two? There's two more. Significator is 5, right? Then there is transformation and great way, I think, yes. So all of these, they are a process of the mind. If you see it, the conscious mind, that's what it is. It's a conscious mind. So a conscious mind has a matrix, which is the conscious attention that we have. Then there is the subconscious or unconscious, which feeds, you see. That's why it's male. The male is reaching into the unconscious. Male is reaching. And the other one is awaiting to be reached, unconscious, right? Then there is catalyst, and experience, they go together as well. There's so many ways you can study all of this, but this is the sequence of the mind. It's not even a sequence, it's just what's happening all the time. It's a constant, it's simultaneous. So catalyst and experience feed thanks to the matrix and potentiator, they all work together with significator. The significator is, what gives significance to life. It's you giving significance to life all the time. And so when catalyst and experience work together properly to feed the significator actually transforms. And there's the great way, which is, the transcendence of the moment. And so every moment is feeding your archetypical mind. Now, no matter how you study it, you can do tarot, you can do astrology, you can do whatever you want. I preferred what I call the disciplines of the personality that Ra is going to talk about in the next part of this session 74, my next video, which is know yourself, accept yourself, become the creator. Who are you? You first need to know. You see? Sorry, but you have to know first who you are. Then you can accept yourself. And in accepting yourself, you become the creator. So I have my own method of doing that. And that is the direct path, which is not my own method, like I have said. It is the way in which I have learned it from different teachers like Ramana Maharshi and others who are currently alive, and I highly recommend to you Francis Lucille, who is the teacher of Rupert Spira, which you may know. Very popular. And there is also, unknown to a lot of people, Locke Kelly, I believe is his name. I think I said it correctly. Locke Kelly is another guy who talks about the direct path. And there are not many, but I enjoy it. I love it. And just like the law of one, there are not many of us, but we love talking about it. And that's what I teach. If you're interested, my course is always in the description. If you want to get it, enjoy it, have fun with it. And it's a simple thing. You only need curiosity unto yourself, wanting to meditate, of course. The essence of meditation is there. I mean, I call it direct path, but it's everything. It's shadow work, it's understanding others, it's seeing the unity in all things, the collapse of duality, there's no more separation, so on. It's the direct path to self-realization. Yep. And I'll talk about it in a different video, but that's all I got today. Anyhow, nothing else to say. Check the description again if you want to check out my course. I will see you in part 2 of session 74.